So you're done with your braces and you know that you have to wear a retainer, but how long do you have to wear this retainer for, and do you ever have to get it replaced? Well, in today's episode, we're going to review 8 different scenarios where you might need a new retainer. So stay tuned. What's up, guys? Dr. Greg here, back with yet another episode of Braces Explained. I hope you guys have all been doing awesome and are ready for another episode. Like the title and intro said, today we're going to talk about when or if you need to replace your orthodontic retainer. If you've gone through braces or Invisalign, you probably should have gotten a retainer when the treatment was over and have been informed that you have to wear it for as long as you want your teeth to stay straight. And some people are like, oh my god, do I have to wear my retainer for life? Well, that's generally how long people want to keep their teeth straight, especially after going through this whole process, right? But I've been getting a lot of questions of how often do I have to replace this thing? Do I have to replace this thing? And what are some scenarios where I might need to get a new retainer? Now, retainers can last you for a really, really long time. There's no specific amount of days or months or years that retainers can last you. I've had mine for about 8 years now, and it's still the exact same set that I got from when I got my braces off. And it works perfectly fine. I have no reason to replace it. I know people for a number of reasons that we're going to talk about in today's video that need to replace their retainer sooner. If you're unsure if your retainer needs to be replaced, I always advise you guys to give your orthodontist a call so that he or she can squeeze you in, evaluate your retainer, and you guys can have a conversation of if you need a new retainer or the one that you have from the day you got your braces off is perfectly fine. But before we get started, there's one thing that you can do with no retainer in your mouth at all, and that is to go down there and destroy the like button for today's video, as well as hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet already. I'm gonna put the timestamps out in this corner like always, so you can jump ahead wherever you want in today's video. But let's go ahead and get started with why retainers are so important. But really quick, before we get started today, I have a really quick plug. So recently I've actually launched a Patreon page, and if you guys want to know more about it, I'm gonna put a link in the description of today's video, as well as in the pinned comment section of today's video. But basically on this Patreon, I'm actually going to have a private Facebook group where I'm going to answer your guys' questions directly, as well as host a monthly live session. On here, I can answer your questions more directly because, you know, I've been trying to keep up with everybody on the Braces Club as well as on here, but it's becoming really, really difficult, and I feel like I'm not being able to give people that direct access that they ask for and that they want. So if this is something you guys are interested in, go ahead and check out my Patreon link in the description of the video as well as in that pinned comment. There's going to be different tiers, so if you just want to support the channel, there's an option for that. But if you want a little bit more personalized communication with me, there also is an option for that. So check it out, see what works best for you. And if you do decide to become a Patreon, I really do appreciate all you guys' help. I love doing these online videos and communicating with all of you guys. I think this is like the coolest thing in the world. So all your support to help make this possible is really appreciated. Okay, so let's get back into the video. So first, let's talk about why retainers are even important at all. When we first get our braces off or get our Invisalign debonded, your teeth want to shift back to where they came from. And that's because there are these fibers that are stretched to move your teeth to a certain position. And once that force comes off, those fibers want to return to their shape, basically returning back to where they came from. So the retainers do a stellar job at holding the teeth where they're supposed to be right now until the bone remodels around the teeth. And the longer that we wear these retainers 24/7, the quicker that the bone can remodel around the teeth. But as time goes on, if we don't wear a retainer, we get different forces from our lips, our cheeks, our tongues, our chewing forces. All these different things can influence how the teeth kind of shift and relapse. So it's really important to wear your retainer at least at night for as long as you want your teeth to stay straight. So in today's video, we're going to talk about 8 different scenarios where you might need to get a replaced retainer. And we're going to go through them and talk about the 2 different types of retainers. We're going to talk about the classic hawley retainer, which is the acrylic with the wire that runs across the front. And we're also going to talk about the clear aligner retainers. So there's certain things that one has benefits over the other, and sometimes you have to replace one where you don't have to replace the other. So we'll go through all of these 8 different scenarios and we'll address them one at a time. The first most obvious scenario when you have to replace your retainer is if you've lost your retainer. I feel like this is kind of a no-brainer, but it is the most common reason why people have to replace their retainer, and that's most likely because either they misplaced it or they broke it or lost it or something like that. I always have the saying, your retainer should either be in your face or in your case. It should never really be anywhere else because they cost too much to replace. So you really want to be careful that if your retainer's not in your mouth, be sure it's in your case because they're really easy to misplace. They can be in your napkin and you can throw it away. You can put it on a countertop, it could fall, it can go in the trash. There's a lot of different ways that retainers can be lost, and you don't want to do this because you are going to have to go get a new retainer. And it's really important to know that if you need a new retainer for any scenario that we talk about in today's video, it's really important to get it done ASAP. Because the longer you wait to get a new retainer made, the more likely your teeth are to shift, and more often than not, your orthodontist is going to capture a model of your teeth that day, right? So they're going to hold your teeth where they are presently, not where they were before. So if a lot of time has gone on since you got your braces off or your Invisalign off and your teeth have started to shift, the retainer is going to hold it where it is right now. It's not going to revert it back to where it was. So something you really should keep in mind when you're going to replace a retainer. The second incident when you might need a new retainer is if you've had some significant dental work done. And it's a little bit different here between the hawleys and the clear retainers. With the hawleys, if the dental work isn't too significant, we can always go in there and kind of shave away some of the acrylic, bend the wire, and adjust it so that the retainer can fit on your teeth. If it's really severe, if there's a lot of new crowns or differences in your bite or things like that, we probably are going to need a new retainer. But a lot of the times, if you've just had a filling done or one crown made or something like that, we can adjust your hawley retainer to fit so that you don't have to repurchase or buy a new retainer. This is very, very different when compared to the clear trays. With the clear trays, if you have a crown made, we can't really adjust these retainers that much. So we're likely going to have to make a new retainer for you. Like I said, you want to coordinate this so that you can go in and see your orthodontist soon after, because you don't want to go too long without your retainers. So if you get a new crown done or have some serious dental work done, go and schedule an appointment with your orthodontist as well, just so that they can make a new retainer so you don't go too long without your retention. Moving on to the second thing that may result in needing a new retainer, and this is for both a hawley or an Essex, but a little bit more for your Essex, your clear trays. And this has to do with getting a crack in your retainer. Now, if it's a small minor crack in either the clear retainer or the hawley, it should be okay. I would still go and talk to your orthodontist to see if you need a new retainer made. But if it's a significant crack, like a big crack down the middle of your retainer or your retainer broke in half, then you definitely need a new retainer, because if it doesn't hold your teeth properly, then it's not doing its job. So I definitely recommend you get a new retainer made if your retainer cracked. Now, if you have those clear trays and it cracked in half, I'd recommend you still wear the two halves, because the only area that will shift is kind of in the middle of that crack. But you should still get a new retainer made because you don't want it to change your arch form or things like that. So moving on to the fourth item that may result in the need for a new retainer, and that is if your retainer is feeling loose. This is more so again with those clear trays compared to your hawleys. With the hawleys, we can activate the wires and bend it and tighten it and things like that. But with the clear trays, you're not able to do those adjustments. We can do minor ones sometimes if your clear trays are feeling loose, but a lot of the times it's just that plastic giving out. I said in a previous video where I reviewed the pros and the cons of different types of retainers, which I'm going to link out over here, but these clear retainers have a shorter lifetime compared to your hawley retainers. They're more aesthetic, but they do have a shorter lifetime. So if the retainer is feeling loose, we can't really adjust the clear trays too much, whereas with the hawleys and the wired retainers, we can make those adjustments so that it fits a little bit more snugly. Now, if the hawley is loose because it doesn't fit, because you haven't been wearing your retainer, well then we really can't do much. You might need a new retainer at that point, and that's because your teeth had shifted. Which brings me to the fifth reason why you might need a new retainer, and this is because the retainer doesn't fit or your teeth have shifted. Now, like we talked about before, your teeth will likely shift if you're not really good about wearing your retainers. If you wear retainers every single night after that 24-hour period, you should be good to go. Your teeth shouldn't shift dramatically enough that they won't fit in your retainers. But let's say you took off a month or 2 months or something like that, and now these retainers aren't fitting on your teeth. Well, this is an indication for either needing one, retreatment, which no one wants to hear, or two, a new retainer to hold your teeth where they are now. Because if we can't get you to fit back in the retainers that we made when you had your braces off, that means your teeth have shifted significantly from where you were before. And this is an indication to have a new retainer made to prevent it from getting even worse or prevent it from shifting anymore. So it's really important that if you notice that your teeth are shifting, to give your orthodontist a call and schedule an appointment to have a new retainer made. Moving on to the sixth reason why you might need a new retainer, and this is specifically for your hawley retainers. This doesn't happen in your clear trays, but this does happen in the hawley because this reason is your wire snapping. Now, the clear trays don't have a wire in them for them to snap. But if the wire breaks on your hawley retainer, it basically makes the retainer, one, not retentive, so it won't really stay in your mouth, and two, it really doesn't serve a purpose. It's not able to hold your teeth because the wire that's holding the teeth is broken. It has no force on it. So if that is to occur, it's not something that we can repair at the office. Generally, what we'll have to have done is have a new retainer made from scratch, basically. And just like broken wires only occur in hawleys, this next reason for replacing a retainer only occurs in clear aligners, and that's because of discoloration. So if your retainer is to become discolored and you have those clear trays, You can try and brush it and clean it properly, but sometimes it just picks up too much stain, and that is a reason to get a new retainer. Don't worry, it will still function completely fine if it is discolored, but if you don't like that appearance and you want to get a new one made, this is definitely an indication to have a new retainer fabricated for you. Just give your orthodontist a call and they can squeeze you in and have a new one made for you that's fresh and clean. And the 8th reason why you might need a new retainer is if your retainer becomes distorted. Now this happens more so in your clear aligner retainers compared to your hawleys. But if you were to use like really hot water on it or left it out in harsh conditions for a long period of time, different things that can cause distortion of the retainer, then we're probably going to have to make you a new one, because if it's distorted and you're putting it on your teeth, well, now it's going to be delivering a force that we don't want it to deliver. For instance, let's say you stepped on your clear retainer and you made it a little bit more narrow. Now, if you're wearing these trays, it's actually going to orthodontically make your arches more narrow. So you really want to be careful and note that if these retainers were distorted, you probably should get a new set of retainers made. A lot of the times, if they are distorted, they won't fit that well, which will take us to a previous reason in this video that you need a new retainer. Now, all the things that I talked about in today's video aren't the end all be all. There may be some things that I forgot to mention, and if they are, please let me know in the comments of today's video. But these are some of the reasons why your retainer might not be able to last as long as it was originally planned. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, please be sure to go down there, hit the thumbs up button, as well as the subscribe button if you haven't already. Again, thank you so much for checking in and signing in and watching this video with me, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it useful. But I will catch you guys next time on another episode of Braces Explained. For now, Dr. Greg, out.